Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about something very simple but extremely useful for everyday English conversations. We're going to learn how to talk about your weekend in English, especially if you are a beginner and you're not sure what to say.
Yes, this is one of the most common situations in real life. Every Monday, people ask each other, "How was your weekend?" Or "What did you do this weekend?" And if you don't know how to answer, the conversation can feel uncomfortable or very short.
Exactly. So today we'll show you how to answer this question step by step, using simple English, easy sentences, and natural expressions that you can start using right away.
And don't worry if your English level is not very high yet. We're going to keep everything clear and simple, so you can understand and repeat the phrases easily.
Alright, let's imagine a very typical situation. It's Monday morning, you meet your friend or your coworker, and they ask you, "How was your weekend?" Sophia, go ahead and ask me.
"Hey Alex, how was your weekend?"
My weekend was good. I stayed at home and relaxed. I watched some videos and slept a lot because I was tired after a long week.
That's a great beginner answer. It's simple, clear, and easy to understand. But we can make it a little better by adding one or two small details.
Yes, for example, instead of saying only it was good, you can say, "It was really good. I stayed at home, watched a movie, and relaxed." This already sounds more natural and more complete.
Let's look at some simple ways to start your answer. You can say, "It was good, it was great, it was okay, or it was a bit boring." These are very common and useful expressions.
Right, and after that, you add what you did. For example, I went out with my friends, I visited my family, I studied, or I stayed at home. These are all simple sentences that beginners can use.
Let me try one more example. My weekend was great. On Saturday, I met my friends, and on Sunday, I stayed at home and watched a movie. This is still simple, but now it sounds like a real story.
Exactly, and you can also use time words like on Saturday, on Sunday, or in the evening. These help you organize your ideas and make your answer clearer.
Now let's do another small dialogue so you can hear how it sounds in a conversation. "Hey Alex, what did you do this weekend?"
I didn't do much, to be honest. I stayed at home, cleaned my room, and watched some YouTube videos. It was a quiet weekend, but I liked it.
That's a very natural answer. Even if your weekend was not exciting, you can still talk about it in a simple and interesting way.
Yes, you don't need a big story. Even small things are okay. For example, you can say, "I cooked dinner, I went for a walk, or I talked to my friend." These are everyday activities, and they are perfect for practice.
Also, you can add your feelings. For example, "I was happy, I was tired, or it was relaxing." This makes your English more personal.
Let's make another example with feelings. My weekend was very relaxing. I stayed at home, watched a series, and didn't do any work. I felt really good after that.
That's great, because now we understand not only what you did, but also how you felt.
Now here's something very important. After you answer, you should ask a question back. This helps keep the conversation going.
Yes. For example, after your answer, you can say, "What about you?" Or "How was your weekend?" This is very common in English conversations.
Let's try a full example with this idea.
"Hey Alex, how was your weekend?"
It was pretty good. I stayed at home, watched a movie, and relaxed. What about you? What did you do?
My weekend was nice. I went out with my friends on Saturday, and on Sunday I visited my parents. It was a bit busy, but I enjoyed it.
That's a perfect simple conversation. Both people talk, ask questions, and share small details.
Yes, and this is exactly what you should practice. Keep your sentences simple, but try to add a little more information each time.
In the next part, we're going to show you more examples, including different types of weekends, like busy weekends, relaxing weekends, and even boring ones, and will also help you build longer answers step by step.
We'll also practice how to react to other people and ask better follow-up questions, so your conversations feel more natural and confident.
So get ready, because we're going to continue building your speaking skills. Welcome back. In this part, we're going to help you go from simple answers to more natural and confident conversations. You already know how to say basic things like it was good or I stayed at home, but now let's make your English sound more complete and more interesting.
Yes, and don't worry, we'll still use simple English. The goal is not to make your sentences complicated, but to make them a little longer, clearer, and more natural so you can actually have a real conversation.
Let's start with a very common situation. Someone asks you about your weekend, and instead of one short sentence, you give a slightly longer answer with a few details. Sophia, ask me again.
Hey Alex, how was your weekend?
It was really nice. On Saturday, I went out with my friends, and we spent some time in a cafe just talking and relaxing. Then on Sunday, I stayed at home and watched a movie because I wanted to rest a bit before the new week started.
That sounds like a very natural answer. You gave a general idea, then talked about Saturday and Sunday, and added a reason, like because I wanted to rest. That's a great way to make your answer better.
Exactly. So here's a simple structure you can follow. First, say how your weekend was, then say what you did, and finally add a small detail or reason. This makes your English sound more complete.
Let me try one too. My weekend was pretty good. On Saturday, I visited my family, and we had dinner together. On Sunday, I didn't do much, I just stayed at home and relaxed because I was a bit tired.
That's perfect. Notice how you don't need difficult words. Everything is simple, but it still sounds like a real conversation.
Now let's talk about different types of weekends, because not every weekend is the same. Sometimes your weekend is busy, sometimes it's relaxing, and sometimes it's even a bit boring.
Right, so let's start with a busy weekend. If you had a lot of things to do, you can say something like, my weekend was very busy. I had a lot of things to do, so I didn't have much time to relax.
And then you can add details. For example, on Saturday, I went shopping and cleaned my apartment. On Sunday, I visited my relatives and prepared for the week. This shows clearly why your weekend was busy.
Now let's look at a relaxing weekend. You can say, my weekend was very relaxing. I stayed at home, watched some movies, and didn't do anything stressful.
Yes, and you can add feelings. I really enjoyed it because I needed some rest. This makes your answer more personal and natural.
And what about a boring weekend? That's also okay. You can say, my weekend was a bit boring, to be honest. I didn't do much, just stayed at home and used my phone most of the time.
Exactly. Remember, you don't need an exciting story. Even a simple or boring weekend is fine, as long as you can describe it clearly.
Now let's practice reacting to what the other person says. This is very important in real conversations. You don't just answer, you also respond to your partner.
For example, if I say, I went hiking this weekend, you can say, oh, that sounds nice, or that must have been fun. These are simple reactions, but they make the conversation more natural.
Let's try a full conversation with reactions and questions.
Hey Alex, how was your weekend?
It was really good. I went to the park on Saturday and spent some time outside because the weather was great. On Sunday, I stayed at home and watched a series. What about you?
My weekend was quite busy. I had to study for an exam, so I didn't have much free time.
Oh, that sounds stressful. Was the exam difficult?
Yes, it was a bit hard, but I think I did okay.
That's good. I hope you get a good result.
Thanks. See? This is a real conversation. Short answers, reactions, and simple questions.
Now let's practice asking follow-up questions. These are very useful to keep the conversation going. For example, where did you go? Who did you go with? Did you enjoy it? Or would you do it again?
Let's try another example with follow-up questions. Hey Alex, what did you do this weekend?
I went to the cinema with my friends.
Oh, nice. What movie did you watch?
We watched a comedy.
Did you like it?
Yes, it was really funny.
That's great. I love comedies too.
As you can see, this conversation is very simple, but it continues naturally because of the questions.
Now let's give you a small practice exercise. Try to answer these questions in English. How was your weekend? What did you do on Saturday? What did you do on Sunday? How did you feel?
Try to answer with at least 3 to 4 sentences. For example, my weekend was good. On Saturday, I stayed at home and watched a movie. On Sunday, I went for a walk. I felt relaxed and happy.
You can pause the video and try it now. Speak out loud, not just in your head. This is very important for your speaking skills.
And remember, don't worry about mistakes. The goal is to practice speaking and build confidence.
The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Soon, you'll be able to answer these questions without thinking too much.
So today you learned how to talk about your weekend using simple English, how to add details, how to react, and how to ask questions to keep the conversation going.
Yes, and if you practice this regularly, you'll feel much more confident in real-life conversations.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to practice.
And tell us in the comments, how was your last weekend?
See you in the next video.
Bye.